All right, today we're jumping right into the latest AI 100 report from the folks over at A16Z. They track the biggest consumer AI apps out there, and their new report gives us a fascinating look at where the industry's really headed. And yeah, what they found, it might just surprise you.
And really, it all comes down to this one huge question. After the last few years of just insane growth, new tools popping up left and right, are we done? Is that chaotic AI gold rush finally over?
So what's the verdict? Well, the report's first big takeaway is that, yeah, we're definitely shifting gears. It looks like the whole AI market is finally settling down into, well, a new normal.
Basically, the main conclusion from the report is that the whole Gen AI scene is, stabilizing. The Wild West days of a totally new top 10 list every single month, yeah, those are probably over. The market's growing up.
So how do we know this for sure? Well, the proof is right there in the numbers. In this new report, only 11 newcomers managed to crack the top 100. Now, that might sound like a decent number, but get this. The last report had 17 newcomers. That's a huge drop, and it's a pretty clear sign that the big players are starting to dig their moats and lock in their spots.
But hey, a stable market does not mean a boring one. Oh no. In fact, now that the field is narrowing, the competition at the very top is getting more intense than ever. Which brings us to the battle of the AI assistants, and it is a real fight for the throne.
Right now, it really feels like a two-horse race between OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. I mean, on the web, let's be honest, ChatGPT is still the undisputed king. Gemini is only pulling in about 12% of its traffic, but, and this is a big but, look at mobile. It is a completely different story. Gemini has almost half of ChatGPT's monthly active users. Suddenly, this is a much, much closer fight.
And you can really see it here. On mobile, it's clear just how much ground Gemini has covered. I mean, the gap is still there, sure, but it is a genuine competition now. The report even points out that this is especially true on Android devices, where Gemini is becoming a really, really strong contender.
But look, while ChatGPT and Gemini are busy duking it out, they can't afford to get too comfortable, because there's a new challenger rising, and rising incredibly fast. I'm talking about Grok, the AI assistant from X.
Grok's growth on mobile has been, and I'm not exaggerating, explosive. Just think about this. At the end of 2024, it didn't even have a mobile app. A complete cold start. Zero. But then, it released its powerful Grok 4 model, added those AI companion avatars, and boom, it rocketed to over 20 million monthly active users in just a few months. That is just a ridiculously fast climb.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. We've been looking at these company-on-company battles, but there's a much bigger global force at play here that's shaping the entire landscape. And that force is China's dual influence.
When you look at the data, it's pretty staggering. A huge number of the top 50 web apps were actually developed in China. And what's really important to understand here is that this isn't just about apps made for the Chinese market. No, what we're seeing is the rise of a global development powerhouse that is shaping the future of AI for all of us everywhere.
So here's the crucial thing to grasp. This influence is happening in two totally different ways. On one side, you've got these powerhouse apps built for the domestic Chinese market, think Quark, Taobao, and they have to follow local rules, get licensed, host data there. But on the other side, you have this growing wave of apps built from China that are aimed at the rest of the world. We're talking about things like the video model Kling or the image generator CArt. And here's the wild part. A lot of these aren't even available in China.
And this trend, it gets even more obvious when you look at mobile. Are you ready for this? A staggering 22 of the top 50 mobile AI apps, that's nearly half, were developed in China. They're absolutely dominant in creative areas like photo and video editing, which means they are fundamentally shaping the tools that you and I use every single day.
Okay, so we've seen the market stabilized, we've seen the major players emerge, but what's next? Where are we headed? Well, the report points to this fascinating and honestly kind of quirky trend that could be the next big frontier, something they call vibe coding.
So what on earth is vibe coding? Honestly, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's this idea that you can just use plain old English to describe an app idea, or a feeling, a concept, a vibe, and an AI platform will just build it for you, a fully functional product. No complex code needed, at all. The whole process is it's almost ridiculously simple. Step 1, you describe your app idea. That's it. Step 2,
The AI generates all the code, the UI, the whole shebang. Step 3, you hit publish and go live. You can literally go from a simple thought to a live product just like that.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little fun, maybe a bit of a gimmick, right? But this is where it gets really serious. The report drops this quote, and it's a big one. Early data shows cohorts for US-based users of one top vibe coding platform see revenue retention upwards of 100%. Let me break that down. That means people aren't just sticking around, they're actually spending more money over time. This isn't just a toy, folks. This is a real, sustainable business model.
All right, for our last section here, let's circle all the way back to that idea of stability. It's time to meet the survivors, the companies that have proven they have real staying power, the ones who've been here since the beginning. Let's meet the AI All-Stars.
So the report calls out 14 companies that have made it onto every single top 100 list they put out. These are the true survivors. And they really cover the whole gamut of what's working in AI right now. You've got general assistants like ChatGPT, companionship apps like Character AI, and of course creative powerhouses like Midjourney and 11 Labs.
But listen, this next part might be one of the single most important takeaways from the entire report. It's all about how these top companies are actually building their stuff. For the longest time, everyone just assumed you had to build your own massive, proprietary model from scratch to even compete. Well, the data shows that's just flat out wrong. Of these 14 all-stars, the majority of them don't use their own models. They build on top of existing APIs or open-source tech. This is huge. It proves you don't have to be a foundational model company to build a wildly successful AI product.
So where does all this leave us? It's a bit of a paradox, right? On one hand, the market is definitely stabilizing around this core group of all-stars. But on the other hand, you have these revolutionary new tools like vibe coding that are making it easier than ever for literally anyone with a good idea to build the next big thing. It feels like the whole game could be about to change all over again. Which leaves us with one final massive question. Who's going to build the next AI all-star?